could you explain what execution plan and execution strategy are about? I thought we removed execution strategy from v4.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think execution strategy is removed. FIWS. Execution strategy in v3 was a way to instruct a scope how to execute its finalizers when the scope was closed. So the default was that you're in v3 and in v4. Wait, do we have an execution strategy? Scope strategy? No, I mean, now it's just a string, like we removed the module. But the idea here is that you can control how the finalizers are executed. The default is sequential finalizers because in reality, like parallel finalizers is kind of dangerous if you don't know exactly what finalizers are in the scope, because executing finalizers in parallel can lead to race conditions. For example, if you have a connection that has to close before you close, I don't know, shut down the database. I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Like sometimes there's dependencies between finalizers, and that's why we execute them in reverse order. So that finalizers that were added before other ones are closed first. But there are cases where like finalizing in parallel makes sense. And so that's why we give you the option to execute all finalizers in parallel. And then, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mattia, if you had a comment on that.
No, I'm just saying that the question was about v3 land, but you covered like what it did in v3. So unless there is like other questions about it,
It
I
still
think
exists
that we are
in
fine.
v4. It's just that it's now a string, and you can't. I don't think you can control concurrency in v3. The reason why it was a separate data structure was because there was a third variant that was like effect. It was like parallel n was the third variant, and it actually had like a concurrency on it. Now I think we would just tell you to like use the concurrent, like the regional concurrency. There was a question also. I want to finish this one. Execution plan is a module that we introduced to allow you to create like a plan for how, like what services you want a program to run with. So like the concrete use case we had for this was the AI module, but it can be used with other ones. The idea is that a plan has many steps. And let's say you run your program and it fails after 2 attempts with a spaced schedule of 3 seconds. If it fails after this, then this step will be considered failed with the program, and it'll then provide this layer to your program and try running it with this like configuration. And then if that step fails, it'll then try to run with this configuration, right? So the idea is you can provide a set of services to your program with a configurable like retry behavior and let it fall back. So again, the concrete use case we had was for AI programs. In many cases, you want maybe in the first layer, you configure the OpenAI client and your OpenAI model. And then if OpenAI is down, you would like fall back to this behavior. And you know the steps, it doesn't show it here, but the steps also accept a condition. So you can, where's the while input while? You can specify like while to continue running a step based on like input. So you can actually like control, should we keep retrying or should we like exit and move on to the next step?
Excellent. Yeah.
Does that clarify execution plan for you folks? If it doesn't, let me know. But the idea is to be able to have a sequence of steps that you can then run a program with. So then there's a with execution plan method that allows you to take a program and run it with said plan.